Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Talking Reds fan channel. And this is the post-match reaction after the Leicester game where we won, obviously, 1-0 with a Trent rarity, his first ever goal on his left peg, which he was actually even surprised about. He discussed it in the post-match interview. I'm joined by Reese and by Cam. And I'm going to go to you, Reese, first. What are your overall thoughts of the game?
I think the game weren't great. It's quite boring, quite a subdued game. Kind of how Liverpool's been for the last, I don't know, couple months. I kind of feel Liverpool's kind of been like that, where they had one or two chances, but they're more in first gear. They don't look that bothered. It's which is why I kind of would like the team to change, and certain things like Chiesa not being in the squad again was frustrating, or Elliott starting, or something different. A couple other players starting who are a bit more hungry, because you can see the players know the league's more or less done, even though it ain't done mathematically. They know more or less it's kind of been done, but I still think you should go out there and perform. Like I said, you saw Arsenal kind of destroy Ipswich. I think we should have kind of destroyed Leicester. So it was quite a boring game. Kind of after we got over the line, because at one point I was wondering, is this going to be a 0-0? And then even they had a goal, even though it got ruled out because of a foul. These are the kind of dangerous lines you're kind of balancing between. If you don't kill the game off, you kind of give the smaller team encouragement towards the end of towards the final stage of the game.
Totally agree. Cam, I'm presuming you'll probably agree along those lines as well.
Not really. I mean, the patterns of play weren't great, admittedly, but we're still a team that creates lots of chances. So if you look at, for example, Arsenal's game, they won 4-0, right? Leicester were a man down, I think, in the first, not Leicester, Ipswich were a man down. I know people don't like XG, but I'm just looking at it. Arsenal's XG against Ipswich was 3.03, to Ipswich is 0.22. Liverpool's was 3.12, so higher, to Leicester's 0.26, which was marginally higher. So I think we could, and when I checked Sky Sports, I think it meant 60th or 70th before we scored. We had created 5 big chances, and we had lots of touches in the box. It wasn't the most fluid and aesthetically pleasing game because we're not doing the patterns that we need.
Yeah.
But we still create lots and lots and lots of big chances. And the XG sort of reflects that. It's just Arsenal with a lot more clinical than us, which is the difference between the scoreline, in my humble opinion.
That's a bit of a surprise, actually. Arsenal being a bit more clinical, seeing as they don't have a striker and they still managed to score 4 today.
You're gonna laugh about this, Stu, but Arsenal keep on saying they need a striker, but ironically their XG to goals scored is better than ours, as in like the differential. We miss far more chances, and our XG is wider apart, but we create more volume, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So they're actually more clinical than us.
That is a little bit surprising. I mean, I was going into.
We need a striker.
Yeah, I mean, I was really hopeful, and I thought we might have broken the deadlock in that first minute when Salah hit the post, not once but twice off that shot. I thought, you know what, opening 10-15 minutes, we might actually get a couple of goals here, and the game just dragged out. And a lot, like you say, we're creating the chances, but it's the patterns of play in between. For me, I think, and a lot of fans, including myself, are struggling with this, is the pacing. We're so used to the pacing of being quick, snappy, sharp, all guns blazing. And this season, especially over the last few months, it's been dialed back a little bit. Deliberately, I think, because I think Slot's style of play is a lot more conscious of like sort of how the build-up actually starts and creating the chances. I think they're just a little bit more cautious and careful instead of being so gung-ho, which I'm not against, but it is taking a little while to get used to. And showing those patterns of play and that pace in the game, I think, is something that's missing a little bit. But I also think psychologically, that is also down to the players thinking, you saw it at the end of the game, Salah was just like, one more win, and we got the title. You know it's in the back of their heads that they've won this title, and they're just kind of going through the motions. a little bit. That's kind of what it feels like at the moment. Doesn't make for easy watching, and we are grinding out the results. Don't get me wrong, we're still winning games. That's all good. But that's kind of what it feels like to me at the moment. I don't know whether you guys agree with it. Like, so I'll pass it back over to you, Cam, first.
Okay. I think for 3/4 of the season, we've been really good. And I think we're in the sort of hard yards area of the Premier League. And I think the issue is, I think with Pep and Klopp over the last few years, there's been some really unrealistic standards created. I feel if you remember watching the Man United teams that won the league or the Chelsea teams, generally speaking, there might have been the outliers where they went from start to finish, they were on top all the way through. But I remember watching Man United games where they were 2-0 down and you went into Fergie time and they flipped it around. And I just think, ultimately that Klopp and Pep teams were outliers in terms of the number of points you're getting and the type of football we played, especially. We had some of the best players in the world at their peak of their powers. And I think this isn't Slot's team, and he's sort of working. It's a great team, great bunch of players, but it's not really his team yet, if that makes sense. And I think,
no, it makes perfect sense.
And his style of play is a little bit more controlled, but I think that doesn't mean we can't be attacking. I just think we probably need more of his players to sort of see the best of Slot ball, if you like. Klopp was phenomenal. I enjoyed his style of play, but like Klopp's gone now.
Yeah.
So I think, how many managers in world football play Klopp's style of football?
Not many. I mean, Reese, what you got any words on that at all? Would you agree with that?
No, I agree. I think Slot's style of play is more
measured. I think
it's more measured, more control.
Yeah.
I'd say it's more closer to Pep's. It's more about kind of controlling the ball for me. But obviously, I like the way we played under Klopp. Don't get me wrong; it's exciting and whatnot. It's entertaining when it's going your way. When it's not going your way, then, like I said, everyone will look at it as, oh, it was a great match, but you didn't get the result, and things like that. I just think, I don't know. I think some of the players is, like I said, I think some players are tired as well. And I know some people think, how can they be tired? But players like Gravenberch, certain players and stuff like that, you could see performances have kind of dropped off from being not only tired, some not I'll say more average performances and whatnot. But I just think as well that sometimes with our play, it's a bit predictable, it's a bit boring sometimes. Like I said, we're getting over the line, but if you watch, sometimes it's like crossing it into the box. I saw that a few times, and I'm like, who are we crossing to? And a lot of our play, even though Salah is probably our best player, everything's going through Salah. I would like some of our players to kind of stand up a bit. It doesn't everything. The final ball always has to try and kind of get to Salah a lot of the time. And then when we're doing certain crosses and stuff as well, it's like he's 5 foot. So who you like? Yeah, I mean, it's not Peter Crouch.
We don't have the aerial.
All our forwards are 5, and maybe minus Diaz, kind of thing. I know
Gakpo's quite tall.
Yeah, Gakpo's 6'4".
But the only thing is that's the thing I would say is, you see with our 3, it's not like when we had Klopp and we had Bobby, Mane, and Salah, they would do that.
Yeah.
So you don't know where they're going to pop up. One pop up there, one pop up there. Whereas it's more, like I said, it's more predictable. It's more
rigid.
Kind of, that's what I'm saying, rigid sort of thing.
It's more balanced, I would say, Reese, right?
That's one way of looking at it as well. Yeah, I could say.
Well, if you don't mind me saying, like in Klopp's era, fantastic football. We won the lot. So I'm not doing it down, but I remember the number of big chances we would concede. How many one-on-ones would Alisson have to pull out of his arse because how like front foot and gun, heavy metal we were in our football. That was phenomenal football. I would never change that.
Yeah.
But like, how many one-on-ones have we given up this season?
Not loads. I do prefer the control. I do miss the Klopp into like the way we play, but I do prefer Slots. I just think the second half of the season, it it's kind of been a bit more, like I said, subdued kind of thing. And I just think that's more down to maybe players being tired, not rotating the squad as much. Obviously, it's still 100% a fantastic season, but I think it went, what's the word? When we got knocked from that period where we got knocked out, we lost the cup and we got knocked out against the in the Champions League. I think that may hit the players, and like I said, mathematically it's not done. More or less one game now, but for the players, I think the past month, 2 months, they've kind of seen it as this is done kind of thing, and that's the danger you have if you kind of get close to winning the league early, because you're kind of thinking this is done, but mathematically it's not done. We still got to go out there and do a job. I do agree with you, Cam, that I think when Slot gets more of his kind of players as well,
that'll be the time to tell. I think.
Well,
like, so we said it yesterday in the preview show. It was this summer is going to be critical for who Slot wants to bring in and who leaves, because then we'll see a little bit more of his style of football, where some of these players, they kind of look like they checked out already. I think a few of these players may have been told already that they're going to get moved on. You can tell just by some of the body language, especially, I don't want to pick on him again, but Jota, his form has just gone right downhill. And that's not through really any injuries as such. He's played quite a bit this season and he's just not produced it. And I think for me, more than anything, in this game, the one thing it lacked was just a little bit of creativity, a little bit of a spark to open up that Leicester defence. Yes, we were creating chances, but they were only half chances. We lack a little bit of creative spark in the midfield. We are very industrious in the midfield, very solid in the midfield, but when it comes down to being creative, I don't know, sometimes it feels like, prime example would be Harvey Elliott. He's the one who can unlock, he's got a wicked pass and a great little touch, but he doesn't get played often enough to use that ability. But he gets brought on in the last 20 minutes, and I still think he turned the game around a little bit with Trent. I think he provided a little bit more than Szoboszlai did. So, I mean, again, I don't know whether you guys would agree with that. That's just the way I was interpreting it. I was sat there thinking, we need a bit of creativity. Elliott comes on, things start to change a little bit in that last 20 minutes. So,
I don't think. Sorry.
Yeah, go on, Cam.
No, I was just saying, I don't think our problem was creativity. We created, as I said, an XG of 3 point something, and we created, at least when I last looked at it, let me have a look at Sky Sports. We created, let me have a look at stats. It's going to come up in a second, but when I last looked, it was 5 big chances created. So far in the league, 7 clear, you can't probably see it, but 7 clear-cut chances.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere. Yeah. So I don't think creativity was our issue. It was just very unfortunate finishing or bad finishing. In the league this season, we've created 98 big chances. The next team is Chelsea on 83, Man City on 83, Arsenal on 80. So I don't think it's a creativity issue. Although the knitting and the fluidity isn't.
That's kind of what I mean. It's obvious, as you say, it's obvious that the chances are being created, but it's the knitting in between. I think that is missing a little bit. And it has been missing a little bit in the last couple of months. But just out of curiosity, out of those, for you say, what is it, 90 odd big chances we created?
98.
How many of them have we converted out of those 98?
I don't have the numbers on that. I can have a check, but we've scored in the league. What is it? The table. Let me have a look. We've scored goals, 75 goals. Now, not all of them are big chances, right? No. Because if McAllister's against Fulham, that wasn't a big chance. That was a shot from 25, 30 yards. So we do miss a lot of chances. We're not a very efficient team when it comes to chance conversion.
Yeah.
We just create high volume. And that's why
highlights the need for a striker more than ever.
It does, but I would play that creative play that you're talking about if we had two, like a Declan Rice and a Thomas Partey behind.
Yeah.
then you could sort of afford that sort of Odegaard, if you like, who's a lot more, he's less strong, if that makes sense, but a lot more, a Harvey Elliott. The truth is, neither Gravenberch or McAllister are that sort of ball-winning DMs, right? They're like Perlos, if you like, or, you know, they play well in it too. So I think Slot has probably thought to himself, let's go with pace and power in that midfield, and we might lose some guile there. But as long as we're still creating chances, then perhaps that's the trade-off. Sometimes you don't look as pretty on the eye.
Oh, that's pretty fair.
That's mine. Yeah. Referee agrees.
Before we do go on, just a quick reminder for everyone who's watching: make sure you like and subscribe onto the channel. And final point before we go to the last final 5 minutes of this. Want to bring up Trent. Obviously, he's going to be the big talking point out of all of this. Headlines just write themselves at the end of the day. Salah signed the contract. Van Dijk signed the contract. Trent scores his first ever goal, like I said at the start, on his left peg. Pretty tidy finish. I think the keeper probably could have done a little bit better, actually, looking at the replay. And then he goes and runs, strips off his shirt right in front of the Liverpool fans, and he looked like he thoroughly enjoyed that celebration. But Reese, can we read too much into it?
I think you can and you can't. For me, he looks like someone who cares. You know, a lot of people have been saying he doesn't look like he cares because he hasn't been doing the vice captain duties. He hasn't really been speaking much, coming out saying that he wants to stay. That looks like someone who cares. Obviously, I remember he scored a goal. I can't remember before he got injured, and the way he celebrated. That one was more of an arrogance one because it was kind of like a silence sort of thing. This one looks like someone who cares about playing for Liverpool, being a scout, being from there. Like I said, people can still read it both ways because some people might look at the interview and they might say, "Oh, because he didn't give too much away," or people said his body language. You could see he was thinking about how he wanted to answer it, which I fully understand because it's doomed if you say if you're staying, doomed if you're not, because if you say you're staying and then you don't, then it's even worse. And then if you say you're going, for me, it's just kind of got to wait and see. But I still think there's a small chance. It's still, I'll say 70, 60, 70 to Madrid, but I still think there's 30-40% chance he could stay. And I think if he does stay, a lot of people who have been saying certain things, fans and stuff, going a bit below the belt, gonna have a lot to answer for, because then how do you kind of go back and take back a lot of the things you said, kind of thing. So
I agree with what you say. Like, so some fans can take it too far. I'm still a big believer, and it's football at the end of the day. It's his career, his decision. But I also look at it from a fan's point of view, and I've said it before, like, sort of, because I'm a Liverpool fan and I grew up there, it would be, if I was in that position, I don't think I'd ever want to leave. But then again, I'm not in his position, and we don't know what is going on behind the scenes. So, and he did say, I'm not going to bring this out in public. I want to do everything privately, which is fair enough. But Cam, what's your take on the whole Trent situation at the end of the game there, the interview, the celebration, what's been going on over the last couple of months? What's your take on it all?
I mean, only his inner group probably know what's really happening. But when I saw him celebrate, I was like, I think he's staying. And then from his interview, I inferred that he's going. Because the way he was talking in sort of passive tense, if that makes sense. You know, these are the times, you know, these are great times.
I picked up on that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it inferred from that he's off. But, you know, Reese is also right to read it the other way, although he caveated it by saying there's only a 30-40% chance. I personally think it's a 95 to 99% chance he's gone, and a 1 to 5% that he's staying. You know, the celebration is emotional because he's just scored the winner for Liverpool, and they are going to win a title. And he does love the club. He loves his city. So he would get, even if you're leaving and you have that backstory with the city and club, you're still going to celebrate like a madman with your fans, right?
Yeah.
But the words, I think, were quite damning in as far as the way he was talking passively, I thought. But who knows? I hope he stays because there isn't another fullback I've seen in my lifetime that offers you what he does. Dani Alves and Cafu and Maicon were very attacking, but they were sort of runners, right? That used to come overlaps and stuff like that. This one is just a creator.
No right back in the world, as you say, in my lifetime either has had that range of creativity or passing. That I can't think of one. You're right to say, like, so there's been some brilliant right backs in the world, Cafu, Dani Alves, all that, but they were a lot more just direct, pacey, going at you, and they could cross a ball. But nobody has had that range of passing.
Yeah, I do wonder whether Slot wants that sort of fullback as well. I don't know. Like, he does take him off quite a bit.
He does. I don't know whether that's to manage those little niggly injuries that he's been picking up, like sort of the last year or what. But it's a difficult one to gauge out of all this because, as you say, you look at the celebrations. It's raw emotion. He's just scored the winning goal, as it turns out, for another 3 points, meaning we're only 3 points off winning the title. You're going to be emotional off that. But like you said, and I did pick up on that, there was kind of like a cautious way he was using his words.
Past tense language.
Past tense as well. And yeah, it was, I was like, just the way he said a couple of things, I was like, is he or isn't he? I don't know. I think from my perspective, at this point now, I would just prefer if he was open and honest.
To be honest with you, Stu, like, I understand that football is a business and you know, contract talks are contract talks, but he could come out and say my preference is to stay, but like, you know, we have to agree on terms, the direction of the club. Except he hasn't even come out and said that. Even Salah and Van Dijk, he could have done what Salah and Van Dijk did, right? And Van Dijk played these cards very close to his chest as well.
Yeah.
But you always got the feeling with the language he used that, like, if there's a deal to be done for him to stay, he will stay.
It was always positive wording.
Yeah, like, I don't see why that would undermine or, you know, play out his contract talks any, you know, would negate that. So it's just, for me personally, it just leaves a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. He could do what he wants, but like, I do feel like I've been strung along like a girl who doesn't love me, really. You know.
Yeah.
And she's just keeping me warm right now. While she's sorting stuff out. Yeah, while she's sorting this stuff out, right, Reese? While she's making sure everything is set with a new man over there.
Basically, yeah, you're the safe option. You're the what's it called? Yeah, kind of thing.
All right, guys. Well, on that note, two final words. Firstly, Reese, man of the match. And it's a difficult one. I had to think for a while on this one.
Come back to me.
All right. Cam, man of the match.
Man of the match. They all played at a acceptable level, I thought.
Averagely.
Yeah. If I was to pick one, I thought Virgil was very good.
That was going to be my pick. It was either going to be Virgil or McAllister for me.
That's what I was going to say. It's just come to me like
McAllister. Yeah.
Well, he had quite a balanced game.
Yeah, it
You always
Very
get stuck
difficult.
in. You always get stuck in, and going
Yeah.
forward, you know what your offer's going forward as well. So you know.
Yeah, it's very difficult to pick a man of the match today because, like you say, Cam, all the players were pretty much bang average. They didn't make any mistakes. They didn't do anything wild or extraordinary to make them stand out. It was just chugging along quite nicely. But for a final point, that rolls us on to next weekend where we have Spurs at Anfield. Just for a bit of fun, score predictions for next weekend. What are we saying?
You know what's funny? Because of how we've been playing, I want to kind of say not much goals, but because of how Tottenham play, and they come to kind of play, and they're kind of all over the place with their results in their season.
I'm hoping it's their one game that they don't decide to sit back.
They got Europa League the week after, right? So
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the whole team.
Oh, did a little swap around in the team. Oh, yeah, that's a fair point, actually.
I think just because obviously if Arsenal drop points, I think we win it. But if they don't, we win it anyway. I think going into that knowing that we can actually clinch it officially, I think comfortable win. That's what I'm looking for at home. I'm thinking maybe like 3, something like 3-0, 3-1. Potentially could concede because Liverpool, when they do score a few goals, they end up kind of taking their foot off the gas and maybe conceding a minor goal. But yeah, I think a comfortable win. I'm looking at. I think.
What are you thinking, Cam, for next week? About the same?
I think 4-0 because of the squad rotation that they're going to be doing. If they weren't and they were playing their full team, I think it would be a very tight, the last 2 months, I think we've been very tense in our play.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And it's understandable because you're getting closer and closer and you're tensing up, right? But I think we'll do them 4-0 personally.
Fair shout. I think I'm going to go along with you guys. I'm going to say probably 3-0 or a 3-1. Something along those lines. I think there will be a couple of more goals in it next week. I just hope that they go for it and go, right, title's there to be won today. Let's go and smash him, get it done and dusted. And then everybody's happy. So that's where we're going to leave it for tonight, guys. Thank you very much to Reece and Cam for joining me on this one. Damo will be back next week, I believe, doing a few more videos. And as I say, don't forget to like and subscribe onto the channel and join us for the next videos after that. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you later. Ta-ra.
Yeah. Bye-bye.